those smaller companies, software companies, doing some amazing things. MongoDB and Atlas, just an amazing quarter. What's your outlook for why those valuations are justified and their values are going to continue to grow?
Well, I would first give a hat tip to Satya and what they've done at Microsoft in this transformation to cloud. It's been outstanding. And really, the Azure business line is one of the major engines of their growth. And they've had a fantastic year. But the even more impressive thing is to step back and realize that even with almost 50% growth year over year, they're still trailing the average of the new economy software companies in the cloud index. And those 58 companies, including MongoDB and PagerDuty, which you mentioned, are up almost 60% year over year and have beaten companies like Microsoft in the short, medium, and long term. And we think that trend will continue as this transition and replatforming occurs from the on-premise world to the cloud world.
Byron, there's so much trust and belief in Microsoft versus these smaller names. And I guess that's natural in the sense that, Microsoft has this track record, it's big, et cetera. But what should investors be paying the most attention to? Benchmarks, data, things like that with these smaller companies to determine which ones are doing the best and which ones are the healthiest and have the most runway?
Naturally, there's comfort in scale, and Microsoft is an exceptional large company, and we certainly expect they will continue to perform well, which is why we did include them in our new economy Mount SaaS basket for the years ahead. However, hyper growth over time will get rewarded, and that's what you see from these emerging companies. Mind you, they're not tiny. These are companies that are in the billion to multi-$100 billion range. It is companies like PayPal, which you mentioned in the prior segment, as well as the Shopify's, Adobe's, Twilios of the world. But for folks wanting growth and for people that want outperformance, when you look at that basket, which is growing on average almost 40% year over year while generating positive free cash flow, you can absolutely see outperformance there that can pull away from the industry leaders and the large incumbents, including the folks like Microsoft and Amazon.
Byron, this basket of cloud stocks has so many different verticals and so many different types of companies included, be it applications or infrastructure. Which is the category or the variety that you think shows the most promise right now?
We do look at it in terms of vertical slices. So if you think of it as application, platform, and infrastructure, as well as vertical segments, such as fintech or security, we see that applications really led the first wave. Those were the first IPOs, the biggest names, the Salesforce.coms and Adobes of the world. But what we saw last year was the largest software IPO in history came out of the infrastructure space with Snowflake. We saw Confluent earlier this year. People are watching Databricks and HashiCorp with a lot of interest for hopefully upcoming IPOs in the next quarters. And so the infrastructure space has really been the story of the last year. Now we're seeing, though, fintech and crypto within that, as well as security, really break out. And the single biggest mover in the private markets last year was the fintech segment, up over 400% year over year, which was staggering. And that was led by companies like Stripe, Plaid, Checkout, and others.